welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing another book review. I finished this book in like 2 days because it was just so good. So it's the 4th book in the Huntress series that I am reading. This one's called Destined for an Early Grave by Jeaniene. Here it is. And guys, it was really good. I liked it as much as the other ones, but I didn't. What I didn't like was there was a lot of the 2 main characters were fighting and arguing a lot, and there was reasons for it, but still, like the other ones, they argue a little bit, but then they work it out. This one, it took a lot longer to work it out, and they just kept, and it just kept pulling at your emotions and heartstrings a lot. Like, I kept getting really mad at them. I just did. Okay, so let's get into it. And I already logged it. I still need to print off and find something that I'm going to use to rate the books and the characters, but I have it all written down already. And this is actually, I think, going to be very helpful for the reviews, is if I get it all written down before, because then it gets my thoughts kind of organized, so then the reviews will be better. Okay, so it starts out with Kat having a nightmare about a monster chasing her from behind and someone calling her that in the dream she knows it's a vampire and knows this vampire. But when she wakes up, she doesn't know this vampire. And she's not telling Bones about it, and they're on a ship. They're gonna go on a vacation, because she just thinks they're just dreams. And she's had them a few times. Anyway, and then he asks her where she wants to go, and she said, let's go to Paris, and she doesn't know why she said that. She's never really wanted to go there. But anyway, before they get there, Mercari starts calling Bones and asking, like, hey, is Kat okay? Is everything all right? And he's like, yeah, like, that's weird. And she thought that was weird too. And then when they got there, and staying with the vampire married couple that they were staying with, Mercari's explained to them, like, he first asked Kat, he's like, so what are your dreams about? And she's like, and then Bones like, she's only had one that I know about. And she's like, no, I've been having other ones. And he was mad that she didn't tell him that, but she's like, I just thought, that they were just dreams, so why would I tell you? And, anyway, come to find out, the vampire she's dreaming about is making her have these dreams, and he's called the Dream Snatcher because he can snatch humans wherever they're at when they're in dreams, can snatch them and bring them to where he's at. And his vampire name is Gregor. And she's like, but I don't know him, but anytime anyone mentions his name or anything, she gets headaches. And the Mercari's ended up telling her, actually, you do, because I had a vision, and he has visions too, and he had also a vision, not as detailed as mine, but of you, and so he decided to change your future, and he came when you were 16. He, like, mind controlled your mother to talk you into that he's a good guy, and you went with him for about a month, and then I came and basically took you from him, and he also imprisoned him, so there wasn't a war or fight or anything. He's like, but I did that so that your future wouldn't be changed, so you would still meet Bones and everything. And she's like, okay, you did this because you love Bones and all that. And he let her think that wasn't the reason. But then he, like, did, like, a spell thing because she's half vampire, so vampire mind control doesn't work on her like it does humans. But he did, like, a special spell and everything and made her forget. So every time she hears his name or anything to do with him or anyone that had to do with him, that she gets headaches, and she doesn't know why, but she figures that out. So then, anyway, he keeps trying to get her in the dreams, and they keep saying, don't touch him and everything. He's like, but you'll remember if you drink my blood and everything, but she just stays away from him. And then they find out he keeps popping up wherever they're at. And they're finding out he's tracking us somehow. And it later comes down to the fact that it's not anyone betraying them that they think it is. It's he's seeing where she's at through her mind when she's awake, and when she goes to sleep, he sees where she's at, and that's how he's finding him. So then they have to start like blindfolding her and like knocking her out unconscious so he can't track her. But then they go to a safe house, basically. And the whole book, you're trying to figure out why he's so obsessed with Kat. But he is. And he's telling everyone, she's my wife. We blood mated and everything. But she has no recollection. But we know that she was to Bones. So, anyway, then they go to the safe house. And then all of a sudden they start getting attacked. But before they get attacked, he locks her in a safe room. And that she can't get out of. And she has monitors to watch everything, but he didn't tell her how many men he had. And if he had, it could have stopped this whole big thing. But even a quick cap before this, they were fighting so much because of the pills, the side effects. It's kind of making her crazy and feeling like, she felt crazy. Being locked up all the time and not being able to know where they're at and, just be normal. And he was getting grumpy because of it too, because he wasn't getting much sleep either. Because she had to take special pills to knock her out, so she didn't have REM cycle. And then he would have to wake her up with his blood, and yeah, it was a lot on both of them, and so they were fighting a lot because of this. Because he was afraid of losing her, having her get snatched away. Anyway, then Gregor finds a way to call her during this battle, and it looks like they're losing, and she's worried that they're going to die, and she's going to have to watch Bones die. I've got a little bit of dry throat still. And he says, go to sleep, and I'll take you. And she said, I'll only come to you on 2 conditions, and one is that you call, as soon as you have me, you call your guys off, and you leave Bones and all of them alive. And if I drink your blood and I remember everything and I still choose Bones, that you will let me leave. And so he agreed to the terms, because he is so cocky. He believes once she remembers everything, she's going to stay there. And so she uses the pills, not the full dose that she's supposed to, and it puts her to sleep, and then she runs to him, and he couldn't snatch her away because she had her walls up, but then she had to somehow find a way to let him down, and he snatched her. And when the guy stopped fighting and he went to find her because he knew why they stopped fighting, he lost it. And she left a note saying, I'll be back, to let him know she's coming back, but he lost it. And he told Gregory he's going to start killing his men 1 each hour until he got her back, basically. And she didn't know all that was going on, but for him it was his worst nightmare, to have her snatched away like that, and for her to willingly do it. But she was doing it, she thought, to save them, but she didn't know he had more than enough men hiding that Gregory didn't know about, and he had already won the battle. When she got snatched, and she didn't know, but, anyway, so then he was really mad at her, Bones, when she came back, but during this, then she drank his blood and got her memories back, and realized she still was going to choose Bones over him, and this part of the memories made me so mad. He is, gaslighting her so much, and she was 16, and so young and immature. And he forced her to marry him, basically the blood bond. And then he also was trying to force himself on her, like to sleep with her sexually. And she didn't want to, and she even said, I'm not ready, I don't really. But he wasn't going to take no for an answer. And he was gaslighting her by giving her all these presents and telling her all these nice, wonderful things, being sweet to her, until she said no to him or disagreed with him or said something a little snooty. And then he would get so mean to her, and it was gaslighting. And she was so young and inexperienced with life that she didn't see this. But as an adult woman, through her memories, she totally sees all this. And it's like, Bones loves me for me. And even though we fight, like, I'm allowed to fight with him and disagree. And we'll come and agree at some point and at least compromise. And he doesn't control everything. And so I still choose Bones over this guy. And she did have feelings for him, but not a lot. And luckily, Mencheres had come and rescued her when he was trying to force himself on top of her. Basically rape her. So luckily she had never slept with him. Anyway, and then she ended up, when she told him this, he got really mad. But then she got a knife to his heart and was like, if I twist it, you're gonna die, because it was, she knows how to kill him. And then she had Vlad, her friend, come and take her and go back to Bones, but then he lost it. Bones lost it. He's like, you chose him over me, to trust him over me, and blah blah blah. She was like, no, I was trying to save you, but he wouldn't even listen to her. He just flew off the head and said, we're done. And then he went to New Orleans, and it looked like he was sleeping around. And she lost it, but she still helped save him in that situation. But I'm not going to explain all that because I don't want to give too much away, because I want you to read the book for yourself. There's a lot that happens in this book. Lots of details that I'm kind of skimming all over. But anyway, there was a whole situation with New Orleans, and she saved him, but then she left before he could even talk to her. But then she went and stayed with Vlad for a while. But then he came to get her, Bones, and even though he was mad with her, he put her in a safe area with her mother, and he said, you're mine, so I came for what's mine, but I'm not going to come spend time with you because I'm mad at you. But then his best friend Spade came after a few days and was like, I'm sick of this fighting, so I'm going to bring you to him, and you need to ask him to change you. And she said, what? He's like, into a vampire. He's like, because you're too weak. And she had already been realizing this, that it was probably time to change, because she was only half vampire and half human, so she was a lot weaker than even the weakest vampire, in a way. Well, no, I guess she's stronger than the weakest vampires, like new vampires, but she's still very weak compared to vampires. And so he's like, you need to for your own safety, and you need to work this out with Bones. And she said, okay, you're right. And so she went and she got all showered and in pretty dress and everything, and she gave Bones her reasons, and he was like, okay, I'll do it, but you have to sleep with me first, or take down your walls of your mind so you can let me in. And she chose sex instead, because she felt too vulnerable letting him in, especially where they were mad at each other. But then when they were there, he's like, I'm not a rapist, so if you don't really want to do this, I'm not going to do it, and I'll still change you. But then he started apologizing to her and giving her his side, and then she was giving him her side, and then she let down her walls and let him in, and they ended up making up and making love, and great scenes, by the way. And that part finally made me happy that they finally made up and all that. And then he changed her. But then some weird things happened. When she changed, she didn't want human blood at all, like the vampires do. She drinks vampire blood. So she had to keep feeding off Bones, and then he had to keep drinking blood from bags, like human blood. And so that was weird. And then her heart kept beating, and then it stops beating, but every time she gets mad, her heart starts beating again, and that creates a whole slew of problems with other vampires when they're like, she's a vampire, and then when they hear the heartbeat, they're like, what trickery is this? And anyway, and then later it finds out that the reason Gregor's obsessed with her is he saw her power, and when she was changed, and so he was mad when she got changed because then he couldn't get to her anymore, and that was one of her reasons. He couldn't dream snatch her anymore, and so he was like furious, and so to punish her, he dream snatched her mother and changed her mother into a vampire, which for a mother is worse than death. And then had her as like a slave for like his girlfriend, basically he's had for years. That he changed into a ghoul because Kat killed her, but then he brought her back as a ghoul. And so made her mother as a vampire and as a slave of his girlfriend. And there was nothing they could do to take her right then because she was basically his property. Because of vampire laws, and explains all that. But then when they went to rescue her mother, and he wasn't there, but then he showed up, she accidentally, but then it wasn't on accident, she purposely burned Gregor up, but he's still alive. And she's like, how do I pyro? Like, how do I have that power? And it's because she drank from Vlad earlier. So any vampire she drinks from, she kind of gets their powers, their gifts. And Gregor doesn't know this. He just knows she's powerful, but doesn't know the source of the power. And that's what it is. And every time her heart starts beating, that's when she can do this. And so then Gregor accepts the challenge up to fight Bones for her, basically, because she is Gregor's wife, because he married her at 16. So she's not really Bones' wife, but she is his. And so they're fighting, and they have very powerful vampires that are like gauging everything because of the laws or whatever. And Gregor cheats, and she realizes something's wrong, and she like throws a fireball at his head and explodes his head. So she kills him, and then they were going to kill her for interfering, but then Bones is like, he cheated and he proved it. And she's like, I could feel it because he's my sire and we're blood-bound through marriage and everything. So I knew. And she didn't know he was cheating, but she knew something was wrong. And so they let her go. And so it ended up happy with them being together and Gregor dead. But yeah, and then the reason Manchara's involved in everything was because he wanted her power for his line to protect his people instead of Gregor's. And so that's why he did what he did. It wasn't for love of Bones and Bones to be happy and everything. I mean, I'm sure that was part of it because he loved Bones like a son, but his main reason was to have her power for his people. Which, you know, they both felt kind of betrayed about that a little bit, but I get it. I mean, he had lots of people in his line that he has to think about. And it would make someone he sees as his own son happy. So I don't know why they're so betrayed, because they're in love with each other or happy. I don't get it. And Gregor's a dick. He is. He's awful. Anyway, so that's the book. I hope you liked it. I hope you liked the review. And actually, this did help me out a lot, because I was able to keep everything straight, and then if I wasn't, I could look down and be like, oh yeah. So I did save one spot in here for one quote, and this is from Vlad when she's staying with Vlad. This is what he says to her, and let's just say, I love Vlad. Like, they're becoming best friends, Kat and Vlad, and Vlad and Bones don't get along very well, but Bones sees that Vlad actually cares about her. Not like in love with her, not romantically, just like as a friend, a companion. And she feels that way to him too. And so he's allowing their friendship. But I love Vlad. to say the least. I love Vlad. I think you guys will too. He's awesome. This is what he says to her. I feel a connection to you, as I once told you. It's not love, it's not attraction, and I won't sacrifice myself for you. But if you needed me, and it was possible for me to help you, like today, I'd come. Whichever side you called me from. I squeezed his hand once before letting go. Thank you. He settled back more comfortably in his chair. You're welcome. So I loved that because he's like, I will always be there for you and help you. And he's like, I can't take your side on this because I want you to be happy, but you're technically Gregor's wife, so I can't take your side on your bone side on this because the law is the law. But just know if you need my help and I can help you, I will be there to help you. And I just thought that was so incredibly sweet of him, because he doesn't make friends easily, Vlad. But Kat kind of doesn't either. I mean, she does, but she doesn't. So she offends a lot of people and a lot of vampires all the time. She has like no filter. And that's probably why her and Vlad get along. He finds it humorous. He doesn't really have, like, he's very blunt like she is, and they appreciate each other and are just good friends. So anyway, and Vlad's one of my favorite characters, as well as Spade. I love Spade. But yeah, so anyway, I hope you like this review. Subscribe, hit the like button, ring the bell, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.